Вітаю всіх! Це подкаст «Коли все має значення» і я Ангеліна Карякіна.
А я Наталя Гуменюк. Цього разу я страшенно рада, що це вдалося. В нас є подкаст, якого, мені здається, не могло би не бути, якщо ми його назвали «Коли все має значення». І ми багато говоримо про міжнародні події, про справедливість, про воєнні злочини, про те, чому важлива солідарність. І якби б ми його не записали, мені здається, все, що ми робимо, могло б залишатися порожніми словами, якби ми не звернули увагу на те, що відбувається в Газі.
Це була твоя ідея, і мушу зізнатися, що я давно про це думала, але якось і не доходили руки пошукати людей, з якими можна було би про це поговорити. Але завдяки нашим проектам і знайомствам, зокрема завдяки роботі Джанін Діджовані, в нас є ці контакти, і ми не просто написали багатьом людям, ми змогли поспілкуватися з людиною у Газі. Тобто ця розмова, яку ви зараз будете слухати, одна з двох, тому що ми записали 2 розмови, вона відбувалася в Газі. Я розкажу, чому у нас 2 цих розмови, 2 людини. Одна з них, як я вже сказала, один з них, його звати Раджі el-Jaru, це рок-музикант з Гази, лідер рок-групи Osprey V, яка ледь не єдина рок-група, рок-гурт в Газі, і він розповідає взагалі, що це таке бути рок-музикантом в такому місті, як Газа. А друга розмова з палестинцем Ахмедом Алнауком, який зараз знаходиться в Лондоні. Він виїхав туди, він навчається, працює, він журналіст, активіст. Його історія відрізняється дуже від історії Раджі і цінна тим, що він, мені здається, уособлює досвід дуже багатьох палестинців. Це людина, яка в один день, в один момент втратила 20 членів своєї родини. Їх усіх було вбито під час удару бомбою в будинок, де знаходився його батько, його брати, сестри, племінники, племінниці. Всі жили разом. І він розповідає нам про цей досвід. Тобто це 2 таких дуже різних історії, але мені здається, на фоні того, як нам бракує в медіапросторі українському взагалі історії з Гази і взагалі історії палестинців, мені здається, цей випуск дає зрозуміти, що відбувається зараз з цим народом, що відбувається в Газі.
Я більше місяця багато подорожую світом і постійно маю відповідати на питання: а що Газа, а де ваша солідарність? Насамперед людям з інших країн або десь піднімати питання. Це така паралельна теж дивна історія, коли одні люди мене питають, а чому так багато України і так мало Гази в світових медіа, а інші кажуть, а чому так багато Гази і так мало України? Тому що це питання сприйняття, це якесь таке несправедливе змагання багатьох бід. І мені здається, ми всі розуміємо, що щось відбувається в Газі, але якщо чітко сказати, що саме відбувається, то зараз багато хто з українців ми до кінця не знаємо. Не тому, що немає інформації. І от в цьому є питання. Якщо ми дуже хочемо, ми можемо дізнатися, що відбувається в Газі. Ми, можливо, в чомусь не цікавимося. Що головного ти для себе дізналася, на чому заакцентувала? Або просто скажи, про що були насамперед ці розмови?
Розмова з Раджі насамперед передає взагалі ситуацію, в якій зараз знаходяться люди в Газі. Він з родиною переїхав на південь анклаву, де в них є можливість жити в будинку, не в наметі. При тому, що десятки тисяч, якщо не сотні тисяч людей взагалі живуть в наметах. Це закрита територія, дуже маленька територія з неймовірно великою кількістю людей, які не можуть звідти вибратись. Туди неможливо завести гуманітарну допомогу і звідти неможливо вибратись. Навіть при закликах евакуюватися з місць, де Ізраїль проводить операцію проти Хамасу, фактично не лишилося місць, де можна врятуватися. Раджі розповідає, мені були цікаві всі дрібниці, аж до побутових, звідки вони беруть їжу, як вони харчуються, скільки це коштує, взагалі як вони виживають. Ти знаєш, він почав з фрази: «Я би хотів, щоб ви уявили, що це таке кожного дня мати необхідність розводити багаття для того, щоб випити просто чашку кави». І, звичайно, я йому багато разів говорила, що ми можемо собі уявити, що це таке, тому що багато хто з українців, особливо ті, хто пережили облогу Маріуполя, знають, що це таке. Іншого способу зігрітися ще й в той дикий холод не було. Але мені не дуже хотілося порівнювати наші ситуації. Я просто казала, що так, ми можемо собі уявити. Він розповідає про те, скільки коштує все. Є одна можливість виїхати з Гази, але це коштує приблизно $5000 на одну людину. Це через Єгипет. Раджі розповідає, що він хоче кампанію розпочати по збору грошей для того, щоб виїхати. Власне, у нього дружина, у нього маленька дитина, яка приблизно віку мого сина, там 1,5 року, десь приблизно так. Ця історія цінна тим, що вона передає повністю, мені здається, ситуацію, в якій живе цей народ. Я мушу сказати, що я також запитала Раджі про Хамас і про відношення до Хамасу. Це було непросте питання, тому що, я розумію, що та ситуація, в якій вони зараз знаходяться, це не зовсім той стан, в якому можна вести з холодним розумом розмови про те, хто винний, хто почав, хто закінчив, тим більше в історії з ізраїльсько-палестинським конфліктом. Але він доволі чесно відповів на це запитання, і ви послухайте, що він про це сказав. Друга розмова з Ахмедом так само містить це питання, і теж він на нього відповідає так, як вважає за потрібним. Але це історія людини, яка втратила батьківщину, і яка теж для багатьох українців, мені здається, не далека, він не може туди повернутися, він не має куди повернутися. Я, напевно, тут зупинюся, тому що, не хочеться сильно переказувати, я лише один момент хочу пояснити. Додзвонитися до людини в Газі, це не майже те саме, що дозвонитись до людини там, не знаю, в Маріуполі під час облоги, але приблизно те саме. Тобто там дуже поганий зв'язок. Інтернету фактично немає. Ми спілкувалися WhatsApp-ом. Насправді, ми довго не могли зв'язатися, і це просто чудо, що ми змогли так довго з ним поговорити. Він поставив таку величезну палицю дерев'яну, на ній прив'язав якусь таку, типу, як коробку. В коробку поклав мобільний телефон свого батька, який був підключений до електронної сімки ізраїльської, і яка трошки ловила і роздавала інтернет. І от в такий спосіб ми змогли з ним поспілкуватися. А так, в принципі, це дуже важко. Тому ця розмова безкінечно цінна, просто тому, що людина з місця подій з нами говорила.
Тому ті, хто хочуть слухати англійською, зважайте, що є певна складність з якістю звуку, але це той випадок, коли ті голоси, які хочуть почути. Я би хотіла додати про типовість історії Ахмеда, ти сказала. У мене була така ситуація, ми були з Джанін Джовані, нашою колегою, на фестивалі в Італії, одному з найбільших журналістських, і за стіл вже пізно ввечері в закладі, в гарному ресторані сіло кілька знайомих. Один з них був журналіст, йорданець палестинського походження, який також зараз змушений жити в екзилі, але Джанін розповіла цю історію і показала деякі фотографії від Ахмеда. Цей хлопець, якого я з'ясувала, ми мали якихось спільних знайомих ще з моїх подорожей в 2012-2013 році, доволі дорослий чоловік, він почав навзрид плакати. А він, до речі, один з засновників сатиричного журналу «Ходяче почуття гумору», можна так сказати. І ми говорили про щось, про якихось знайшли спільних знайомих, і раптом вона почала цю розмову за вечерею. Я не можу сказати, що вона не вимушена, це ти не розважаєшся, коли про таке говориш. Вона почала показувати ці фотографії, і от просто хлопець почав плакати, він почав вибачатися, чому він плаче. Але він просто потім дістав телефон і показав телефони 2 своїх дітей. І він сказав, що він не може. Він просто не може цього чути, бо він це уявив. Саме тому б я хотіла сказати, що це точно, напевно, історія одної людини, але вона дуже багатьом резонує. Вона набагато глибше, ніж просто історія для дуже багатьох людей, ніж історія з новин. Тому, напевно, для того, щоб ми зрозуміли, дійсно за цим конфліктом є дуже багато геополітики, є дуже багато нашарувань, але от я просто розумію, що для дуже багатьох це дуже конкретна історія втрати того, що відбувається сьогодні.
При всьому цьому, чим мене також вразив Раджі, як і в історіях з України і з нашими свідками, які пережили страшні речі, це в тому числі і історія спротиву, я маю на увазі духовного, спротиву трагедії. Раджі – музикант. В нашому подкасті лунатиме їхня музика. І загалом його чудова, блискуча англійська мова – це мова, яку він вивчив завдяки музиці, яку він слухав, рок-музиці. Так от, він продовжує і хоче продовжувати займатися музикою, і загалом вся ця історія про музику, про те, що хлопець реально з місця, де панує бідність, де дуже важко не просто записати якийсь трек і звести його музичний, а взагалі дістати гітару, знайти барабанчика. Він дуже прикольно розповідає про те, як вони шукали барабанчика, всі барабанчики звикли грати у ці арабські весільні мотиви, а їм був потрібен рок-барабанчик. І він розповідає історію їхнього рок-барабанчика. Це також класна історія того, як навіть в ситуації, де дуже важко собі уявити, що можна зробити з цим, і як можна вижити, допомогти, і як можна цьому чинити спротив, я маю на увазі психологічно, все-таки є музика, є культура, є людяність, велика людяність. Історія Раджі саме про це. Тому давайте слухати дві історії палестинців з Гази. Одна з них просто з місця подій. Раджі el-Jaru та Ahmed Alnaouq. Raji, so my first question is very simple. Tell us where you are. What is the situation where you are? How are you and your family?
Right now in the south. The south has four main small cities. The first city is called Nusayrat. Second is Deir al-Balah. Third is Khan Yunus. And lastly is Rafah. Now I'm located in the first one in the south, which is prior to Rafah and to Khan Yunus and Deir al-Balah. I'm in the first city, more to the seashore.
Where do you live exactly, Raji? Is this a house? Is this a camp?
So we are lucky enough that my family owns a little garden there that we used to go into the weekends and with my family and the kids and the pool and stuff like that. So we're lucky enough to have this little building. It's called like a chalet that we actually are staying in, along with 40 or 50 members of my family now, as we're hosting them because they have no place else to go. The place is surrounded by tents and people on the streets, and people are like, I know good people and really, really good people. I know friends of mine that were in a really good situation. After the invasion of Rafah right now, they left and they're almost in the streets right now. Some of them even couldn't find tents to stay in.
How just, your everyday life looks like for you and your family and the people who are staying with you? I mean, we've heard, and we've read about the shortage, of supplies and everything. Could you describe a little bit?
Okay, so basically from the beginning of the war until now, I've been working on campfires. You could imagine yourself being a civilized person. I used to have a espresso machine house and having this small big TV and internet connection and sound system in my house and everything. And now, if I wanted to make a cup of coffee in the morning, I had to start a campfire. Could you imagine? It's because there's a huge lack of gas. The moment I'm talking to you right now, they're actually using the campfire to make food, to make a little cup of coffee, to make everything. We were facing really shortage of gas at the beginning of the war until now. Everyone is using in Gaza right now the campfires. They're just burning wood and burning stuff so we can just get good heat, a good fire and everything. Of course, there's a huge shortage. We are living on cans. And when I'm saying cans, I've been for 7 months or 8 months right now, 7 months going to the 8th month. We haven't been working, unfortunately. I've been unemployed for more than 8 months right now. And we're putting all of our savings on canned food and on tuna chunks or on stupid beans and stuff like that, which is unhealthy, of course. But this is what we have. Of course, there's no meat. There's no chicken. There's nothing like it. For more than 200 days, maybe we've eaten meat twice or 3 times or 5 times by max. All for 200 days along. I know exactly how Buddhists are actually living right now. I got that experience. The irony out of it is that we're actually paying so much money for this. Those cans and everything is just so super, super, super expensive. Everything is harshly expensive. A little cup of coffee, you'd have to pay maybe $5, $6, $10. This is how expensive everything is. The situation is really bad in terms of food and everything. But I'm in a good situation, coming from a good family, so I'm not in the same way that the other people are facing. Way much better than everyone else. But eventually, I'm here to speak in their song and just because they're one of me. So I'm here to talk about their deprivation and about everything that we've been facing. The things that we've seen in this war is just no words could really explain it or even describe it. Genocide and after genocide with those barbaric forces coming and invading Gaza like this and displacing people in their own city.
Raji, how about hospitals in the place around you? We've seen that the hospitals were demolished in Gaza City. Yeah.
In the middle of the war, me and my family evacuated really soon from Gaza came to this garden. We made it better. I'd clean it and just get everything ready. My brother didn't come with us because his wife was pregnant in her 9th month of pregnancy. So she didn't come so she could be able to maybe give birth in a Shifa hospital or any good hospital that we have in Gaza, right? As we don't have much hospitals in the south. By the time things got really crazier, luckily, thanks to God that my brother's wife, she gave birth. And eventually they came through... after a while, they followed us and they came to the land here. And of course, they came when bombing is all above their head and a lot of missiles were coming to the building and they were almost died. Even my wife, my mother-in-law, and her brothers and sisters, they got missiles hitting them in the same building they were in. Just because they were meant to live, they didn't die. Like they literally came out of the rubble and just kept moving, and it was that bad, especially in the north, for people that stayed in the north and did not move, like my mother-in-law and my wife's sisters and brothers.
And how about now in the south, in the place where you stay? I mean, is it shelled, is it bombed, or is it more or less peaceful right now?
Our house, okay, so now we're coming at a point when you look at how bad is the destruction in Gaza, you think that what happened to you is really good in comparison to other people. We have the building and we have the store. We are lucky enough that those are still standing. They didn't demolish it to the ground, as they have been demolishing every house for no reason. But most of the houses, like we are all talking about 8 or 10 flats in this building that my family owns, and we're in the store down there, partially or fully demolished inside of the flats. A lot of bombs and a lot of missiles going on and bullets so I even can send you pictures for the house. It's really bad. But eventually it stands still, like it is standing. It's not... It went all down.
You mean the building, your house in Gaza, right? In Gaza City?
Yes, in the north, yeah. And we're lucky enough that the store stands there, you know. The store is also, the music store is there. All the equipment are partially good, hopefully. We have one warehouse that was bombed all the way and everything was demolished inside. But now we have it. We're lucky enough in comparison to other people and what happened to other people. But
now we read the news about the Israeli troops near Rafah and that they might come into Rafah. How bad is the situation in the south? I mean, how often do you hear the sound of the missiles? Is it close to you?
Let's just agree on one point that the sounds and we have 24-hour drones up on our heads. Mm-hmm. When it comes to sounds, we heard crazy amount of bombing and really bad nights and days that you can never imagine unless you experience it. Even in one of the ideas with my bandmates, we're actually deciding to make a track that is a sound design out of bombs and destruction and bullets, using electronic music and electric guitars, just to give some experience to people how it looks like to be in a war. When you put your headphones on, you'll understand how it feels. We'll give you a little experience, and every single missile you hear, bombs that reach you away, and the other maybe will sit you to your eternal silence. So it was so bad. And the reason I went to the south in the beginning, because of my little daughter, Bella. She's like 1.5 years old. She had no guilt. Like, what the hell? What did I do, or my wife, or my little kids, to see all of that? What did we actually... We are civilized people, intellectual, smart. We added a lot to our community. We added a lot to the world. And eventually what we received from the world is a lot of hate and a lot of support to the Israeli occupation forces and what you just, the genocides you're witnessing right now. And I know a lot of friends that were killed and died. And some of the pictures I could never remove from my head. Like I remember seeing one father hugging his 5 or 3 kids all together. And the bullets were coming through all of their bodies, and just they were dead in this position, you know? The last state of love. This is one of the things I remember. And a lot of states like that. There's a lot of people, a lot of babies, like especially babies, that I remember that once there was a kid in one hospital that lost all of his arms and legs. He was in pain and everything, and they was talking to one of the doctors, and he said to the doctor, hey, of course his mother was dead out of the invasion and the bombing that was next to them. That's how he lost his hands and feet. And then he said to the doctor, do you think they're going to grow up again? And he's talking about his hands and legs. So you can imagine, imagine little child saying this, and I'm imagining my daughter, and you can imagine your daughter as well. you don't find humanity in whatever is happening. And what is irony about everyone was standing with Ukraine when Russia was invading Ukraine, right? But when it came to Gaza, they started dehumanizing the people. They started to make that, okay, so yeah, barbaric, let's just kill them. It's all good. They're not normal people. And this is the media, the Israeli media, that's trying to portray and show to the people that those are people that are not worthy of living. They are stupid. They're uncivilized. Blah 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 blah. Shit like that. That has nothing to do with truth and what is really. If you know Gaza too well, if you came to Gaza even once, you'd understand how beautiful and how willing are those people to live and to offer to the world instead of missiles, messages of love and messages of peace. But we are forced to this world. We are forced to be evacuated in this place. Why are you killing civilians? Why are you killing babies? What is the accusation that Hind did to have this terror in her life and eventually even kill her 5-year-old kid? Like, who does that? Other than Hitler, who does that?
Raji, I have to say that not all the media. I read a wonderful text by Janine about you and about Osprey V in Vanity Fair. Yeah. It's a great story. There are lots of great stories about people like you doing this incredible work. Could you please explain us a little bit about your band? How did you come to establish a rock band, and why rock band? What does it mean in Gaza to be a rock musician?
The story of Osprey is a crazy story. I even remember myself. I think in 2002, when I was like 6th grade, me and my cousin Momin, we came up with the idea that he was listening to English music, Western. We used to listen to Michael Jackson. And in 2003, me and him stumbled to rock bands like Linkin Park, Evanescence, and stuff like that. And it was that I remember myself when he showed me those bands and this kind of music. I was in a shock, a cultural shock of how beautiful is this music and who the hell are those people. And in that night, I remember myself. I imagined, I wanted to make this rock band. And even I remember myself when at school when they asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? Someone says a doctor, another says engineer. Every single time it just hits on my head, I want to become a rock star. I want to make a rock band, you know? This was my childhood. It was hitting me all the time. And I wasn't able to do that until I came to the second or first year of my university in 2010. And when I got the chance to get a guitar, and I started to learn online and to self-teach myself guitar and to establish this band. Everyone was laughing at the beginning. Yeah, you're going to make a rock band in Gaza? Like, no, who listens to Western music in this rock? You don't have radio stations opposing rock music, for example. So I had to learn bandmates. All of those bandmates, none of them knew how to play any instrument in the beginning. Myself the guitar, so I taught my other cousins the guitar, and then my first cousin came as music player, and eventually I brainwashed the guys with the rock music. And listen to that, listen to this, listen to that. Until we came in a point where we started to practice, and make this Osprey V emerge and become something. We chose the name Osprey V because you do know the osprey is part of the eagles. It resembles us in every formal way in terms of pride, in terms of living in the hardest circumstances and coming out of nothing. And so it has a lot of characteristics that resembled us as a group. And we chose Osprey V as V in Latin 5 members because we were 5 members at the beginning. And it just grew up, this idea. And then I was successful. I was stubborn enough to make this idea successful. I even made it more successful when I established first music store in Gaza, which made a huge revolution to Gaza's culture and Gaza's music culture. As so gave a little chance to every single Gazan to witness and to feel the power of music, to feel how powerful this music could change beliefs and change systems and just impose messages. You see, people are dying right now, right? And no one is telling you stories. They're dealing with them as numbers. But we are here to take those numbers and tell you up-close stories of what is really happening behind the media, behind the controlled media. No, it's from the words of the own tongues of the people of Gaza that are living in harmony and peace in this place.
How about your bandmates? Are they all safe, alive? How are they?
Thanks God, we're all safe and all of us are alive. 2 of my bandmates, one of them is Saed, my main bandmate, the co-founder with me of the band, along with my other cousin. He's in Egypt. He was in Egypt even before the war because he was with his mother. She was treating cancer. She was treating cancer in Egypt. So he stood there in Egypt at the beginning. Then Suraj, which is the electronic musician with us, he also recently left before the last closure of the border. He had to pay $5,000 per person. He left with 5 members of his family. So you're talking about $25,000 he had to pay to survive and just to get out of Gaza, to run out of this war. Every person, even if I wanted to evacuate right now from Gaza, if let's suppose that the border is open, Rafah border, you have to pay $5,000. Even my little daughter Billa, she has to pay around $3,000 to $5,000.
That was my question. How do you get out from Gaza? But whom do you pay? Do you pay these people who are taking you?
No, not people. It's the Egyptian government. You pay the Egyptian government, which is making a hypothetical company called the Hala, which is owned by the government. And this government makes you forcefully pay $5,000 in order to pay to leave. They're gambling on your life with money. This is what is happening.
This is a very high price, $5,000 per person.
Not just the high price. You're talking about high price with the situation of months unemployed, not working, with everyone just paying super expensive prices. As I told you, how much is the coffee and everything else that you could imagine. This is how crazy things are in here. But we are covered with the mercy of the Lord, and I think that this is the thing that I think keeps us going. That we have hope. We have hope that this will change. We are resilient. We have deep roots to the ground, to this land, as we know that we are rightfully the right people and the right people, the right owners of this land.
Raji, can I ask you a political question, which also many here in Ukraine ask? There are lots of Ukrainians who are married to Palestinians, and they're also now in Palestine. But there are also many Ukrainian Jews, in Israel and also elsewhere in the world. And there is this question about attitude of the Palestinians towards Hamas now, after this whole situation after October. Did it change at all? How do you feel?
Well, okay, so there are illiterate people and there's educated people of this. Now, if you're going to ask me who's the reason behind what happened, I'll just tell you Israel is the reason. And if you ask me, I'll tell you Israel is the reason. It always has been this way. We've always suffered because of Israel. Hamas that never existed in 1948, never existed in Sabra and Shatila massacres, never existed in Tantura massacres that the Israeli forces made. So it's never been Hamas' problem. Hamas is just another freedom fighter out of the other freedom fighters that are fighting willingly for the freedom of the Palestinians. If you are going to talk about the October the 7th, before you ask me about October the 7th, you have to ask me about what happened in 20 years before October the 7th. What led us to this situation of reaching out to October the 7th? What did Israel do in 2021? What did Israel do in 2018? What did Israel do in 2014? I'm 31 years old. I've witnessed 7 or 8 destructive wars, killing innocent people in the most barbaric manner that you could ever imagine. So if you think that I go against any person fighting for his land, you'd be wrong. No one is against any freedom fighter. This is the right terminology. This is not a conflict. This is a genocide. You're targeting civilians. You're killing civilians. This is what is happening. I don't say that there's bad Jews. I know that a lot of good Israelis and a lot of peaceful people out there. But we're talking about the governments. We're talking about the people that participate in the killing of the Palestinians and kicking them out of their lands and kicking them out of their houses, displacing them as they did with us. This is my answer.
No, sure.
This is the answer of every free Palestinian that you...
Yeah. My question is, for example, Israel is justifying also what it's doing by the fact that there are still hostages. It's not about this justification. It's rather, I really want to hear your thought. But would you like the Israeli hostages to be released? Those who were kept in the civilians, I mean.
First, let's just put it this way. First of all, as Raji, as Osprey V member, we're here to focus more on the humanitarian manners. I'm not here to discuss any political question or whatsoever. This is not my position of talking about politics. I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I'm a free, civilized person living free life that's filled with love and joy and human form, let's just say. What I received at the end is that dehumanizing to my people and to myself, killing us, displacing us, killing everyone that could see, erasing all of the memories, a really systematic attack on culture. The last stage I made, like I got this gig with my bandmates with the French Institute in Gaza here. And Mr. Jack Blanc himself, the past Minister of Culture, the French past Minister of Culture, and the one who created the Fête de Musique, which is the Feast of Music in 1981. He came for a special visit just to look at up close, to look at Osprey V, to look at my band. We made this gig in the Orthodox stage in Gaza, in el-Jaru next to Carrefour. And this stage, this was literally maybe one of the last stages that was remaining as they bombed before al-Mishal, and now they bombed the Rafah show. We have only just 5 or 6 places that we can do gig or do any concerts in Gaza here. So the last stage, the last memory I have a beautiful memory in this place with 500 people watching our show, and it was so beautiful gig that we did. You can ask the French about this. They demolished it to the ground. Now we don't have no place of culture. This is why we need to maintain Gaza's culture. We are here to save the Gaza's culture, and this is why we are the voice of the voiceless. We are the tongue that should be heard to every horizon of the universe, that they should know about Gaza, they should know about the ban, they should know about what is happening with all those innocent people being killed. It's really funny when you ask me about those hostages. I'm not asking about the 40,000 people that are died.
No, I'm talking to you about these 40,000 people. I'm just wondering.
I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying that this is the way that the media is portraying and dealing with the situation. They're always talking about those 1,500 people that died in Israel and those 400 hostages, 300 hostages, but they're not highlighting anything with the 40,000 people. Half of them are children and women that are killed in this war. I need to ask you one thing. Are they any better as a human being from me or from any one of those guys? Like, for example, if the other way went around, like if 40,000 Jews were killed, will the media treat and deal the same way they're dealing with us? I'll leave you the answer.
No, I don't think so. Exactly. This is why I'm taking this interview with you, Raji.
We have equal rights and equal everything. They're not smarter, they're not intelligent, they don't have nothing better, but still, the people and the media is one-siding, one party, and standing with one side and against the other. And then you receive such questions as, hey, yeah, what about those 300 people? What the hell? What about the 40,000 people who were killed? I have a cousin of mine that is a murderer. He's died from this. He had nothing to do with nothing. So what about him? Have you asked about the story? This is why I try to avoid politics and just go along with what we are really here and our main mission as Osprey in talking about human and humanity. I'm here to share humanity with you more than sharing politics and who's in charge of this and who did this. I don't have nothing to do with Hamas, and I don't have nothing to do with Israel as well. I don't care about both of them. What I care is that me and you to make the home, to make the house. One of our songs called Home. What we said, and it's really funny as they say that artists are the prophets of their own people. A lot of people were calling me out after this war emerged and came out, and they said, how on earth did you write Home? Because home in our lyrics and our words is exactly describing the situation we're living in all of its details right now. We say destroy every brick of every wall. Dig deep inside throughout my soul. We'll scream our pain. Can you hear the call? And then we say, knock, knock. Are you listening at all? Because we know that no one is listening to us. And it's happening. It's 40,000 people. You're not listening to none of those 40,000 pain, but rather talking about those minimal people that died in the other side, I'm not happy about it. And then at the end of the song, what I say is that conquer every corner. You can destroy, you can do whatever you want to do. But every broken dream and every broken heart is the home. And eventually, you and I create the home, make it home. The message out of the song is that me and you, in our humanity, will impose freedom, will impose compassion, will impose sympathy and humanity to this place and to all of the places of the world.
Yes, listen, I'm calling you from a place of war, and I cannot imagine a conversation about, let's say, peace or sympathy, something like that, like making peace with Russia or with Russian people at the time when they are eliminating like thousands of my people. It's impossible. It's not that I'm asking you about the same, about the Israelis. No, I completely understand what point you're coming from. It's rather, pragmatically speaking, just to understand this operation that Israel is stating that it is against Hamas, but basically against all the Palestinians. This is why I'm asking you,
It's against civilians, basically. It's against civilians, and it's against every person. We're all blaming the occupation that has been made us suffer for more than 76 years right now. So imagine this war didn't happen and whatsoever. None of this have happened. Do you think that Gaza's situation was so good before this war?
No, no, absolutely.
For me to make the song, to create a music that you listen to, I'd have to build up my own studio and to even understand how to work with music, audio equipment like microphone. What is that? What is interface? I had to learn all of that by myself. And you can imagine how hard is sound engineering for me to learn, just to build a little track and to know how to record on a software and eventually to make a song and to send it to a mixing and mastering engineer. This is the type of route that I had to go. If I was in any country, in other country in the world, I would have shortened the time and the distance and the effort I had to put in this. Like, basically, I compose the music and I go to the studio and record it and get my track. That's as simple as that. But this is not the case in Gaza here. And you can understand how hard things were to bring things inside of Gaza. Every single speaker or any single thing that has to do with sound, to bring it into Gaza, I had to have special certificates and special approvals from the Israeli army to bring it inside of Gaza. Even my little headphone had to make a special certificate for it.
No, I can imagine that you had to learn like 3 professions or 4 professions in order just to get out one track. But what do you plan to do now? Do you make any plans to, I don't know how it's possible, it's just immensely expensive to leave Gaza, or what are your like plans if you have some for the future?
My plans for the future is to evacuate and leave Gaza. Not because I want to leave Gaza. I've been for 7 months now, never having the intention of leaving. But now, after more than 200 days of this ongoing barbaric war on us and as civilians, and being almost feeling like worthless, as I can't do nothing, I can't proceed with my career as a musician, I can't proceed with any kind of job or work I'm doing. So I have to leave for the reason of reflecting back to Gaza, as I reflected in the beginning. Now, before the war, Gaza was, let's say, on 0 and plus into minus. I can't redo and do again what I did before 10 years. I had the energy to build and to do, but now the wise thing and the logical manner is actually to leave Gaza, resource and build a career and just talk more and even show the people the music more, because I know that music is going to expand more when I go out. And it's going to echo the whole world to what we are saying, as being original musicians from Gaza here and talking about original stories from the Gaza City. So the wise thing is to leave Gaza, and after leaving, hopefully things will stay stable and we'll inshallah, hopefully we'll rebuild it again. How am I planning to leave? I was thinking about actually making a little campaign, as much as those missiles and the people that elected those governments made us pay and made us displaced and made us unemployed for 7 months. I think that people should reunite again and repaying us, at least just to get us back on our feet and get us back on our track as human beings participating in our humanity with this world.
So you're planning to raise money in order to get your family out and your bandmates out of Gaza, right?
The plan is actually to do a GoFundMe campaign. Mm-hmm. This GoFundMe, I will raise the proper amount to get me out and to get me settled in for 6 months or something in Egypt until I try to get on my feet again and just try to produce and get to my connections and make music and make this and talk about it. We'll focus on the production as much as we can. Also, the plan is to have this little foundation owned by my band or myself that I should reflect back on Gaza here, to remake a music scene after the destruction of the city when this war is over.
Last question, Raji, as far as I understand, like music and what you do really gives you hope and some resilience. Is that true? Is my understanding is true? If not, what really gives you, hope and strength to keep on moving?
You do need to understand that the music is the real driving force that could change realities. Some people say cold music as a massive destruction weapon in its influence to the world. So the reason you're talking to me right now is because of my music. This is how influence and how effective is the music and in delivering the messages. Even myself, if you ask me, what did you see in the war? What have you lived and how did you feel? I wouldn't actually answer you with the proper question and the proper feelings that I had in this war, more than rather making my music. And this music will touch your heart and will tell you exactly how I felt and how I experienced my existence in this war. So yeah, music can change it. Yeah, it can change. I believe so. And this is the reason why I'm taking this on my burden to put music into Gaza and most importantly is to save and maintain the Gazan culture. Let's say preserve the Gazan culture from collapsing.
Raji, one last question. I also have a son. He's like Bella. He's 1 year and 3 months.
What is his name?
His name is Myron.
Bella is like 1 year and 7 and 6 months, something like that.
My son is 1 year and 3 months old. So they are very close in age. I'm staying in Ukraine all the time, and he was born during the war in Ukraine, and I really want him to stay, in his own country. Of course, we are thinking a lot about his future, but we try to be hopeful that there is, future for him in his own country. What do you think about Bella's future? What future would you like her to have in terms of, Palestine and Gaza and her people?
I believe my daughter one day will be this spokeswoman for the Palestinians outside and inside Gaza. She's going to be the best ambassador to deliver the Palestinian message to the world. She will reflect heavily in Gaza again, as I did, not only just in the culture, but in shaping and cultivating the culture and the systematic attack on it. Her roots are on the ground, and she's going to be super attached to this country, to this city. If you came to Gaza once, you're going to fall in love with the city forever. You can't help. There's like an infection called Gaza, and in front of all the people that are in Gaza and outside Gaza, they say that regardless how much we went to lands and went to different places of the world, but no place is as beautiful as Gaza to us. My bandmates are me, Siraj, Saeed, and Mu'min, my other cousin. And then we have the drummer, as we had a big issue in having a drummer in the band, as most of them, they just play in weddings and Oriental kind of style of drumming. So no one actually really worked fine with it. Mm-hmm. And drum is a big issue as an instrument, right? So we haven't had an international coming to Gaza. His name is Thomas Kocherhans. He's from Switzerland. The guy came to Gaza. We've never released our music before, but he came to the visit to the shop, and we watched his drumming. I was like, whoa, this is exactly what we need. As we reached a certain level of professionalism in our music, that we needed a professional drummer like this. And he came to Destiny. He came as a destiny to us. The funny part is that a week earlier, me and my other bandmates were like, hey, what should we do about the drummer issue? We don't have a drummer in the band, and we can't do this without a drummer. And all of them, my other cousin Mu'min was saying, if we worked hard, eventually Destiny and God would send us someone, maybe a foreigner. We'll just play the drums for you guys. And 1 week later, Thomas coming to Gaza, searching for rock bands in Gaza, as there's 1,000 rock bands in Gaza. So we were literally the only rock band. And he was searching for us, and we were searching for him in a really funny Destiny kind of way, that how things shaped out. And he listened to the music. He was shocked that this is coming from Gaza. And he said, hey, guys, I'm with you. I can support you with anything. I'll be the drummer and everything. And he stood with us for 3 or 4 years before leaving Gaza. The situation where he left Gaza, how did he leave Gaza? This is the main point. I don't have pictures for him, but I remember him. We were eating fish together in one restaurant, and we were just chatting in his last days in Gaza. And then he left out, went to the bathroom. Thomas, where are you? Where are you? And eventually came back, all filled with tears. His eyes literally was red out of crying. And he said one sentence I could never forget in my entire life, that he said, what I felt with you guys and what I felt with the Gaza people here, the generosity, the beauty, the how through the inside, as cousins and as you guys, never forget my entire life. This journey I've never expected. When I came to Gaza, I just expected something else. and I received a whole shock to my entire life I would never forget. So this is the inner of Gazan people. I'm not sure how it is in Ukraine, but we are a family-oriented society that the family is number one priority to all of the Gazans here. And it's systematic based on the family. We have a lot of warmth and a lot of beauty and a lot of generosity and a lot of that we want to give to the world. And you're going to see this reflecting as deep as our tracks coming and as original our tracks coming. And it's coming from this depth of feelings we have as Palestinians and as Gazans.
I really hope you stay together and you stay safe. I mean, your family and your people. Raji, thanks so much for being honest with me. Thanks so much. I really had to ask you, questions that people, around me, people who will be listening to us might ask. So I really wanted to hear your answers. Thank you so much.
Destroy every break of every wall. Dig deep inside throughout my soul. We'll scream of pain, can you hear the call? Knock, knock, are you listening at all? Conquer every corner on this earth. Bullets rain down, seize us all. Release the hate, in flames we'll crawl. Knock, knock, are you listening at all? This land is my home. This world is my home. This universe is my home. Every broken dream, every broken heart is home, sweet home.
So, Ahmed, thank you so much for doing this. Just for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you're doing right now, where are you based, and when did you leave Gaza?
My name is Ahmed, and I'm from Gaza. I lived all of my life in Gaza until I came to the UK 4 years ago. I'm a journalist, and now I'm based in London. And I run a project called We Are Not Numbers, which is a storytelling project that aims to amplify the voices of youth and refugees in Gaza. We write stories from Gaza in English and we share it with the world. We have been working for 10 years and we have published hundreds of stories about life in Gaza with all its aspects, the dark side and the bright side.
You've been asked many times, and of course there is no easy way of asking you and of telling this story, but it's crucial to what you're doing and it is crucial to what we are talking about. What happened to your family in Gaza?
Well, in 2014, I lost my first brother in the war in 2014. And then in 2020, I lost my mother because Israelis did not allow her to receive treatment for her cancer, so she died. And then in this war, Israel killed the remaining of my family. It was 22nd of October when my family were sleeping in their home, in my home, when an Israeli plane dropped a bomb in my home, killing all of them. I lost in my home that time my father, my 2 brothers, my 3 sisters, my 14 nieces and nephews who are all under the age of 13, and my cousin. After that, I lost many cousins and their children and their families. So right now, I have no idea how many friends and family and relatives I lost. I don't know the exact number.
Was it a missile attack? Was it an airstrike? What was it?
It was an F-16 that dropped a bomb on my home. That turned it into ashes. My siblings, my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews came out in body parts. They came literally in small body parts. They were shredded into pieces. They were killed, all of them. unfortunately. So yeah, they were sleeping in their home when they were bombed and they were killed.
We're really so sorry, and please take our condolences. Do you have anyone you still keep in touch now in Gaza, and do you know what the situation is like right now?
The situation is very difficult. It's beyond imagination, actually. We're talking about now more than 45,000 killed, including the 10,000 people who are still under the rubble for 6 months, who we couldn't retrieve their bodies. We're talking about starvation in Gaza. The Israelis are blocking the aid to enter Gaza, so we're living under complete siege. People are dying of hunger. We heard reports of more than 20 children dying of starvation. Over 100,000 people who were injured. 70% of the houses in Gaza are now destroyed. They're not fit for living. We're talking about more than 20 hospitals completely destroyed. Most of the hospitals in the Gaza Strip are now completely destroyed. There are only a few functioning hospitals, and with function, I don't mean fully functioning, but there are still running only a few hospitals in Gaza. And more than 350 schools were destroyed. All the universities in Gaza were destroyed. Hundreds of mosques were destroyed. The churches in Gaza, the few churches that are remaining in Gaza, were destroyed. One of them is the third oldest church in the world. It's in Gaza, and it was destroyed. And many Christian Gazans were sheltering in this hospital, and they were killed. What do I say? In Gaza, the situation is more difficult than anyone could imagine. Now, the vast majority of the Gazans are living crowdedly living in the middle area, in tents. Most of them are living in tents without health care, without desalination plants, with a lot of pollution. Diseases are spreading among the families in Gaza, and they're just waiting for their imminent death. Every day, 100 or 200 people are killed. Thousands are missing. Thousands were detained, and they were tortured in detention at the Israeli prisons for no reason. Just because they are Gazans, just because they were born on the other side of the fence. They're being brutally killed and assassinated and maimed. These injured people in Gaza, we're talking about 100,000 who were injured. Many of them are maimed. Many of them lost their legs or arms. So now they will live forever as maims, as handicaps. We're talking about more than 20,000 kids orphaned now. 20,000 kids orphaned. Thousands of people lost their entire families, just like me. They lost their homes. The economy of Gaza is crushed forever. The UN says that it takes Gaza 70 years now to return to what it was before the 7th of October. It's a genocide, it's a massacre, it's a brutality. This is the definition of terrorism. This is what's happening in Gaza.
Ahmed, the residents of Gaza were asked in October 23 to move south. And now we can see that the Israeli troops are moving towards Rafah. What is the situation in Rafah? If you have contact with the people down there, what could be the outcome of this operation if they, will keep on moving towards Rafah?
The first of this genocide, Israelis instructed people to go south of the Gaza City. It's there for the Gaza Strip. And my family's house is in the south, actually. It was bombed. Even they told people to go to stay in the area where my family lives. And people were targeted as they were leaving their homes. As they were sheltering in other houses in the south, they were bombed. And now, there is a massive invasion in Rafah. But the situation has become more and more difficult. The only crossing that is working, it is now in Rafah, and they occupied it. The Israelis occupied the Rafah border. So now no one can leave. No one can enter Gaza. We are besieged from all sides. 1.5 million people were just sheltering in Rafah. And now they're instructed to leave Rafah again and go where? There's nowhere left in Gaza where the Palestinians can go to and seek shelter and seek safety. And so people are now leaving their homes in Rafah. They're going back up. Even when they go, they're being bombed. Even when they stay, the environment they're living in is not safe. It's not safe at all. It's so polluted. There are no water, no electricity, no food. There's nothing they can survive. And people are sick and tired and they're starving.
This was actually my question, just also for our audience to explain also why I'm asking about Rafah. Basically, what is the way out for the people? I mean, asking people to move to Rafah and then to move elsewhere. People cannot leave Gaza Strip, right? All the crossings are closed.
They are all closed. Like, all of the Gaza Strip is a very, very small area. It's not like Ukraine or Europe. It's very, very small area. It's only like 40 kilometers by 6 kilometers. So it's like 360 square kilometers. It's a very, very small area. It's the most densely populated area in the world. So you're asking people to leave and go where? And go where? But people are like, literally, they want to leave, but there is nowhere else they can go to. So they are forced to experience this killing, this murder, this starvation, and there is nothing in the world that they can do to escape. Nothing at all. All the borders are closed. No, they can't move. So you're putting them in a very, very, in an impossible situation. What they should do.
Is there a way to still keep in touch with someone whom you know? I mean, how often do you speak to people who are still living in Gaza? Is there mobile, internet, or anything, any communication?
There's no electricity for 6 months. There is no electricity in Gaza. Most of the areas, there is no internet connection. Some families in Gaza now, like, they have like solar panels in which they can use to charge their phones. Very rarely, like, you could have like communication with people in Gaza, but not in all the places in Gaza. In some places, there is like a connection to the internet, but it's struggling. I still have 2 sisters who are in Gaza, and they survived the bombing just a few hours before the bombing. Sometimes it takes me like 2 to 3 weeks to get hold of them. So one of my sisters, I've been talking to her for over a month now. I couldn't get contact with her. She did not have electricity or internet for over a month now, and I have no idea what she's going through. And I'm very worried about her. The other sister, like, last time I spoke to her, it was 2 weeks ago, I think. Sometimes she manages to send me a message here or there, but most of the time, like, there's no connection. It's a struggle to charge your phone, struggle also to find internet connection. It's not very easy.
You already said a little bit about it, but just for the people who are listening to us, of course, what we see now is absolutely endless tragedy. But could you tell us a little what Gaza was like before the Israeli operation? What has been lost? You already told us, about the third most ancient church situated in Gaza, but just generally, what this place was like?
It's actually very difficult to describe what Gaza was like. It is described by the UN as the biggest open-air prison in the world. So we're talking about an open-air prison. We're talking about a place where the movement of goods and people is very, very restricted by the Israelis. We're talking about siege that crippled the economy of Gaza. We're talking about hundreds of people having to die because they were not allowed to receive a treatment outside. We're talking about 70% unemployment rate among young people in Gaza. 80% of the people in Gaza live under poverty line. But at the same time, Gaza is our home. And for us, Gaza is the most beautiful place in the world. It's our home. It's where we are raised in. And we are very connected to Gaza. You chose not to leave Ukraine in the war. And we love Gaza because it's our home and Ukraine is your home. For me, Gaza is the most beautiful place in the world. It's where I want to live. And it was like you could live in a way or another. It was very difficult to live in Gaza, but you could live. But now it's become impossible to live in Gaza. Like, for example, before the war, we all owned our homes. We were like living decently, at least. And now, like, everyone is living in tents. At least before this war, we had many functioning hospitals. Providing minimum care, health care, but now we don't have any hospitals, we don't have schools, we don't have mosques, we don't have universities. Before that, life was going. It was difficult, but it was ongoing. We could survive. But now it's become impossible. And even if this war ends now, like, going back to normality is impossible. We don't have our universities, we don't have our schools, we don't have our hospitals, we don't have our homes. It's become impossible now.
You're describing Gaza as one of the densely populated places on Earth. There are lots of multi-storied buildings, right? So people are living closely to each other, and there are, high buildings. And it's very, very complicated to imagine a military operation being held in a place like that. Could you explain a little bit when there is, for example, a place that Israel thinks is a target? There is no other way that this place that will be destroyed, that a part of a highly and densely populated residential area will be destroyed as well, with the civilians, obviously.
Yeah, but the thing is, Israel, when they're bombing Gaza right now, they're not just bombing militant or military bases. They're intentionally bombing civilian population and civilian building and civilian places. They want to destroy Gaza. They want to make it unlivable. They want to make Nakba again in Gaza. So all of these lies that you hear from the Israeli side, that they're targeting Hamas or they're targeting the military bases, it is wrong. They're targeting the houses. They're targeting the hospitals. They're targeting the mosques. They're targeting the churches, where even Christians are seeking refuge at. And they previously, in previous wars, they used to target the highest buildings in Gaza because they want to make as many people displaced as possible. So this is the intention. They want to ethnically cleanse Gaza. They want to remove the population from Gaza and leave it only for themselves. They've been talking about bringing settlements in the Gaza Strip. They want to come back to Gaza and live in Gaza and take the lands from the people. The same way they did 76 years ago when they started their state. They took away our homes, our lands, and they kicked us out of our homes and lands and took these places for themselves. And this is what they're doing in Gaza now. So it's not that there are no targets. The target is civilian population. This is their target.
There are lots of Ukrainians and Ukrainian women, who were married to Palestinians, who are also now fleeing together with their children. Some of them could flee, but the vast majority cannot flee, cannot escape as the rest of the Palestinians. But there are also lots of Ukrainian Jews, living in Israel and also across the whole world. And there is this question, about what Hamas did. First of all, this current state of affairs change anything, any attitude towards Hamas among Palestinians?
Well, I'm a journalist. It doesn't matter what I think or what I not think. But I think when it comes to the people in Gaza, Hamas is a political party in Palestine. They have their supporters and they have their opponents. In Gaza, for example, Hamas is not very popular in Gaza. The vast majority of the people in Gaza, they do not support Hamas. They're not members of Hamas. According to some polls, Hamas has a popularity of 20% of the people in Gaza. So we're talking about 80% that do not support Hamas. They do not like Hamas. And I don't know how much their popularity is in the West Bank, but Hamas is not overwhelmingly popular in Gaza. As what they did in 7th of October, it's also it depends. The people in Gaza don't. If I want to be honest with you, I still until this moment I don't know what happened exactly on 7th of October. We hear a lot about how the Western media described what happened on the 7th of October, and many of that is not true. Some of it is true, some of it is not true. The Western media was talking about 40 beheaded babies, for example. And it was all over the news and the front cover, and then it was revealed that this was false. There was not a single beheaded baby there. They have been talking about the mass rape and using the rape as a weapon of war. And it was proven that this was actually wrong. There was no rape. There was no mass rape. Maybe there was a few cases, but it was not mass rape. It was not used as a weapon of war, for example. But we know that civilians were killed in Israel, and I'm against the killing of civilians. I say it loud and clearly, that civilians should not be harmed. But how the people in Gaza view it, it depends. I don't think anyone is in favor of harming civilians. But the first day of the 7th of October, there was a lot of talks about the Israeli military bases and how they were targeted. We don't know much about all the civilians who were killed in Israel, how they were killed and what they were, because we heard also some reports that many of these civilians were killed by the Israelis themselves because Hamas was taking them as hostages. So they have this Hannibal directive in which they kill the hostage and those who have them. So it depends. There's no single phrase in which I can say that would represent the people of Gaza. The people of Gaza are very different. They have different backgrounds. And they're 2 million people. So they have different perspectives. Some of them support the method of armed resistance against occupiers. Some of them support the peaceful talks and peaceful resolution. So, it's different. I can't tell for sure how...
Yes, of course, not for everyone, but it's obvious that no matter what attitude is, no matter what people say, and if some of them say that it's not in their name, this terrorist attack that was committed, anyway, none of them has a way out right now. It seems like none of these people, no matter what they think, have any way out of Gaza right now. But generally, what do you think with what is happening right now and what has been done to Gaza and to Palestinians? How will it change the future of Palestine and Israel and region overall?
I think it hasn't changed the region in many ways. For example, before the 7th of October, there were talks about a normalization between Saudi Arabia, Israel, and many other Arab states. Now these talks have been frozen. The public opinion has changed massively against Israel right now, all around the world. Like in the UK, for example, where I live, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are protesting every week against Israel. The public opinion has changed towards the Palestinian and against Israel. The Israeli army and the Israeli government, Netanyahu and his colleagues are now increasingly becoming pariah around the world because they have proven their true color. They have shown their true color that they are like fascists, they are terrorists. And they say it's clear that these people are terrorists who are capable of killing 15,000 children in Gaza without any kind of remorse. They are terrorists. People are watching them. They're seeing them for their true color. Gaza is destroyed. Gaza is very, very, very destroyed. And the chances of having a peaceful, just solution between the Israelis and the Palestinians now has become more difficult than ever before, to be honest. But I think also in Europe there is another way, another move by some European leaders they want to recognize Palestine, as we have seen from Spain and Ireland. They might recognize Palestine soon. It's changing the world even. It's not only Gaza. When the 7th of October happened, many other countries joined the conflict. Partially, we have seen Hezbollah targeting the Israeli military bases in the northern parts of historic Palestine of Israel. And even the Houthis joined the battle, and even Iraq, and there were some clashes in Syria. So I think it's like triggering the Middle East. And I'm afraid that if this war does not end soon, if it doesn't end soon, I think it will drag more and more people to join, which is going to be a shame. It's going to destabilize the whole region.
What gives you hope in both, in personal dimension and in political, but mostly personal? You have this NGO that you have, the co-founder, We Are Not Numbers. And it seems like this is something that you're doing to overcome what you've been through, you and other Palestinians on one hand, but on the other hand, to preserve also Palestinian culture, the narrative that it is important for you. How do you find hope and resilience today after everything that you've been through?
Well, two things. First, that I love history. I read history, and I know that throughout history, throughout time, the oppressed and the colonized and the occupied will always prevail. And the occupiers and the colonizers and the besiegers, I think one day they will just crumble. I don't think this status quo can continue forever. I have never seen an occupied people who just disappear. It happened in Algeria against the French people, and they prevailed. In Libya against the Italians. It happened in South Africa against the apartheid regime. And eventually the oppressed, the powerful people will always prevail forever. And I believe that the Palestinian people is not less than any other people. We are as equal as any other people around the world. We have been under occupation for so long, and this occupation will have to end. It must end. It cannot go on forever. And also, I'm hopeful because right now, also Gaza is destroyed and I lost my family, but at the same time, I'm seeing that people are waking up from all around the world. I've seen it in the protests in London and in the UK and the US and in Europe and everywhere. And I see it with the students who are protesting every day and doing encampments at their universities for Palestine. They're risking their careers, their education, their safety for the sake of Palestine because they are now seeing the truth. These protests, these encampments are spreading all over. They're spreading in the US and every US university maybe. And here in the UK, in the leading British universities, there are encampments here and there. And also in Europe and in Australia, Today, a university in Australia named their building after my brother who was killed and who got scholarship to study at this university. So I'm seeing a lot of action from everywhere, from the people all around the world. I'm someone who is I'm clinging my hope to the people, the free people everywhere, all around the world. And the people are lovely, they're warm, and they will protect, and they will protest, and they will do what they have to do in order to end the genocide to their fellow human beings. The Palestinians in Gaza are humans. They're just like you, just like the Ukrainians, the Americans, the British, the Africans, the Chinese. We are a people who strive to live a dignified, a free life. We do not deserve to die. We do not deserve to be subjected to genocide, to massacre.
Ahmed, another 2 minutes, but I really think it's important for many of the people who are also listening us. There's a story of you joining, co-founding We Are Not Numbers, basically overcoming or trying to overcome your losses. Could you tell us the story? I mean, just to explain, the NGO works with the young Palestinian authors, writers, journalists, right, who are writing texts together with other global Western writers, publicists. So they work together, they write texts. But the story of your text and the way it helped you, could you tell us a little bit? Because I believe that this story also could help some people who are listening to us as well.
Sorry, this project started in 2015 after the war in 2014. In the war in 2014, as I said, I lost my brother. And after losing my brother, I started in deep depression. But then I was encouraged by an American journalist to write my story. So I wrote my story. I wrote about my brother, and she helped me edit the story, and then we published the story online. So to my surprise, this story got media attention, and people read my story, and they were moved by it. The process of me writing my story and sharing it with the world helped me release my stress. And because it helped me feel better after the war, we decided to replicate what happened with me with many other Palestinians in Gaza. So we started this platform, which we called We Are Not Numbers. The idea was to replicate what happened with me and this journalist by training writers from Gaza and then pairing them up with international mentors who help them write their stories in India. And we called it We Are Not Numbers because we wanted to show the world that behind the numbers that you often see in the news, there are stories of people, of hope, of love, of dignity, of suffering at the same time, who deserve to be told, who deserve to be published and shared with the world. So we started after the misery of the war in 2014. And we created this beautiful, beautiful platform in which we write about everything.
Thank you so much. I really hope that this experience, writing a story, like separating it from yourself or also sharing the story with the memory of your loved ones, somehow helps to move on. I really hope that your loved ones and your people will stay safe to the extent that is possible. And one day you will be, I hope it will be very soon, you will be able to come back to the places that are dear to you. Thank you so much, Ahmed.
Thank you very much.